5 habits for hot yoga teachers that will transform your teaching. And I say that in a passionate way because I'm passionate about this subject. And by incorporating these 5 habits, you're going to soar in your connection with your students. So let's get right into it. Number 1 is intention. What's the intention, or what we call the subtext behind what you're saying? Now, as a new teacher, and if you're a yoga student, when you're listening to new teachers, a lot of times they're just starting to find the rhythm, trying to get the projection, trying to find the proper words, finding their personality and letting it come through the words. There's a lot of things going on as a new teacher. You have timing, you have the classroom, you have the words, you may have a new student. There's a lot going on to distract you. But now that you're experienced, now that you're starting to find your groove, what's behind the words? That's what I mean by intention. Is your intention just to get through the class? Is your intention just to incorporate discipline all the time? Or is your intention to get your students to do the best yoga that they possibly can? And by having that subtext, it's going to change everything, because your students are going to know, they're going to feel that you care for them and you're concerned about their best interests. And when they feel that, what a difference it's going to make. And before we continue on, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell. Any questions or comments, put them down below. I'm happy to get back to you. Let's get to number 2, and that is, big drum roll, Rochelle, corrections and encouragements. Or I should say it the other way, encouragements and corrections. And this sort of ties in with number 1. A lot of times the Bikram teachers, especially the new Bikram teachers, not all of them, as Bikram teachers became more experienced, they own this information. I'm talking about the new teachers, and not just the Bikram world. But a lot of times when Bikram teachers are teaching, the only time they break script, or what Bikram calls the dialogue, or we call in the Barkan method the bullet points. The only time they break script, if somebody's doing something that they shouldn't be doing, and they reprimand them, and they make and discipline their intention, back to number 1 again. I'm suggesting for the teachers and encouraging the teachers to break script for encouragement, to break script for correction. How do we do that? And side note, by the way, nobody did it better than Bikram himself, and that's where I learned from. So let's go posture again, like standing head to knee. One of the postures, probably the most popular posture, at least on my channel, definitely one of the most popular postures in the hot yoga world. At the beginning level, you have different instruction, you have different correction. And what you want to do is play the game. And we do this in my online teacher training programs. We have live sessions twice a month. And we do this at the end of each live session. And it's a game. And the game is called, another drum roll, What's Wrong with This Picture? So I post pictures, and people on the Zoom call will take turns in correcting the pose. Now, we're not doing it to make people wrong. We're not doing it to say, oh, they're wrong and I'm right and this is how they should do it. And I'm definitely not black and white. But the exercise, the reason why we do this is so we can get used to making corrections in class. Because if your student is just a little bit off track, they're going to be spinning their wheels. They're not going to be able to go to the next level. But your correction, sometimes it can be very slight, it can be very minute. One little correction can change everything. One of my favorite metaphors is the toy train. If you've ever had a toy train and you're trying to line up the engine, whatever that is in the front, what is it? You're trying to line up that first car, the main engine on the tracks, and you just can't get the wheels on the railing. And what happens is the engine's moving. The engine starts to spin its wheels, but nothing's happening. They're working really hard. They're trying really hard, but nothing's happening. But as soon as you make that slight, little tiny adjustment to get the wheels on the rail, there it goes, and it takes off. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's what I'm talking about. That's why we play the game, What's Wrong with This Picture, so we can get our students on track. And why do I say encouragement before correction? A lot of times I like to encourage my students, build them up, and then I can start to make the correction. Because if you just start correcting all the time, and this is something I need to work on in my own teaching, sometimes I correct more than I encourage, but if you encourage them first, then you can throw in the correction. They'll be more open and willing to receive it. Nobody did encouragements better than Bikram. That was his thing. I've said it before on my channel. I'd be doing, let's say, standing bow, and he'd go, look at that. That's 25 years of discipline. And you don't think that's going to make you feel wonderful? You don't think that's going to elevate your energy in that very moment? And you're going to hold it even longer, and you're going to kick even further. Encouragement goes a long way. Don't forget it. Don't leave it out of your teaching routine. Habit number 3, and that's timing. And I say this all the time in the Barkan Method teacher training programs. And by the way, if you're interested in becoming a Barkan Method teacher, I put links in the description below. We have 3 level 1 trainings this year that are live. And we always have an ongoing online training, which is definitely the most comprehensive training that I do. Once again, I put links in the description below. We'd love to have you join the family. But I say this all the time in the Barkan Method, timing has to be a major priority. In fact, more of a priority than trying to get as many bullet points in as you can, or They say in the Bikram world, the dialogue. If you're trying to get all of that information in and all of a sudden you start running over time, then you've missed the mark. Because we have to bring in the dialogue, we have to bring in the bullet points to fit the mold of the timing. Cobra pose is 10 seconds. You don't want to go 15 seconds. Bow pose on the floor is 20 seconds. You don't want to go 5 seconds. So you got to make sure that timing is a priority. And when your students know that your timing is consistent, they're going to work harder for you. They're going to know that they have that timeline, they had that framework. So we're doing standing head to knee again. They know how much time they have if you're consistent, and I'm very, very consistent, ask my students. Interestingly enough, today in standing head to knee, I went a little bit over because it wasn't that hot in the class. It was freezing cold in Florida, and we don't insulate our walls, so the cold air came into the room. So I held it a little bit longer because of that. But when your students know that you're consistent in your timing, then they're going to regulate their energy to fit that time frame. And as yoga students, very, very important mantra, less in the beginning, more at the end. If one of the biggest mistakes people make, especially as a beginner, is they go too far too soon. And when you go too far too soon, the body tightens up to protect itself, and then it locks you out of the position. But if you start out slow and easy, the body can say, well, I can handle this. It's a psychological thing. It's a mental connection with the body. Or Raja Yoga. You start out slow and easy, the body can relax and soften and allow you in. And then you can start to turn it on at the end. And especially too, in the beginning, your body's going to be stronger. So it can fight you. If you start pushing it too early, your body's strong and it's going to fight back. But toward the end of the pose, we're doing a pose that we hold for a long period of time. Let's say separate leg stretching. And we hold that sometimes for 30, 35 seconds. The last 5 or 6 seconds, the body starts to fatigue. And now you can take it to the next level. Now you can start to push a little bit more. Challenge yourself. Emmy Cleaves was one of my teachers. She taught me how to do the advanced class, and she would wait. Especially in the advanced class, she would wait when I was doing a position until she knew I was pretty much exhausted and about to come out of the pose. And then she would get on me, shoulders back, tailbone under, whatever the cue was. She would then get me to that next level, and she knew my body was going to respond because she waited to the end. Less in the beginning, more at the end. Habit number 4 is dynamics. And this is one of my sayings in the Barkan method. You want your voice to reflect the moment. So when we're doing a posture, like we start our class with sun salutation, Bikram starts his class with half moon. We'll choose half moon because it's a common denominator. You're warming up the class. You let your voice slowly start to accelerate. You don't want to start strong at the first second of the class. Ease your way into it. Arms overhead, interlace the fingers, index finger release. Take a deep breath in and up and over to the right side. Now, as we start to get deeper into the pose, remember, less in the beginning, more at the end. As we start to get deeper into the pose, your voice can start to accelerate a little bit more, can get a little bit stronger. And now we get to the end of the pose, we can go into what I call cheerleader voice. Hips to the left, arms to the right, chest out, push down into the heel, a little bit more at the end and change. But you wouldn't want to start like that. You ease your way into it. Now, when we're doing a posture like Shavasana, you get to the floor, the standing poses are over. We're not talking in our triangle warrior mode like we were in triangle pose. We're softening the energy. We're bringing in the Shakti tone. And our style of yoga, Hatha yoga, it's represented, our approach, by Shiva Shakti. So I always think of the standing poses as the Shiva energy and the floor poses as the Shakti energy. When we're in Shavasana, the two energies come together, they reconcile. So your voice now softens. Now, if you're teaching, side note for teachers, if you're teaching, let's say, for example, I did a workshop last week, we had 45 people. I can't start soft like this for Shavasana, people aren't going to hear me. You still need to project your voice, but the tonality changes. And this is what I call dynamics. So the key here, let your voice reflect the moment. Play with the nuances. Sometimes you're strong, sometimes you're soft. We want to break that continuous pattern, which brings us to habit number 5. Habit number 5, find your conversation voice. Now, I've said this many times on the channel, and it's worth repeating, especially if you're a Bikram teacher and coming out of the Bikram world, where sometimes it can be very easy to get stuck into a repeated pattern of speech. Arms overhead, push your hips to the left, bring your arms to the right, push, 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 inhale, come up. This is a repeated pattern of speech. And if you talk like this in this repeated pattern of speech, what I call the teacher voice, for 90 minutes or for 75 minutes, your students are going to want to strangle you.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
Or if you're soft, it's going to be like elevator music. They know what posture's next. They don't even care what you're saying at this point. Doesn't matter. They're in their own world. They're in their own practice. What we want to do is break the pattern. And how can we do that? Here's one example. And I have a word for it. It's called find the gem. Find a point in each pose. Doesn't have to be the most important, but an important point. And then communicate that point in a different tone, in a conversation tone. For example, let's say your parents, your mother or your father was all of a sudden doing yoga and they lived in a different state. And they called you on the phone and they said, Peter, I'm doing this yoga and I'm doing, let's say, hands to feet pose. And I'm having trouble with hands to feet pose. I just can't seem to straighten my legs. I don't know what to do with my arms. What can I do? How can I help them? You're not going to say to your mother, bend the knees, squat down if you don't have a knee issue, bring your arms around the back, bring your fingers underneath your heels, put your stomach on your thighs, chest to the knees. No, you're not going to sound like that. You're going to say, first of all, bend your knees when you first come down. You may be coming down in a straight back and you could be hurting yourself. Listen to how I said it. Not what I said, how I said it. There's a different tone. Now get the fingers under the heels. This way you're creating leverage, opposed to fingers under the heels. We're creating leverage. That's the teacher voice. We want to break the teacher voice and just talk to them. The inflection will change. It'll drop automatically when you're conversational. Now, side note, I don't want you to be conversational the whole time. It becomes too casual unless you're doing, let's say, a private class. If you're teaching a group of people, you do have a teacher voice. The transitions are really important for teacher voices. Arms overhead, interlace the fingers. We're back to half moon. Inhale up and over to the left, hips to the right. And now when you're reaching your arms to the left, that right heel wants to come off the ground. Push it into the floor. Press down into the floor. All of a sudden, I changed the pattern. Variety of tone. I said it differently. Again, not what I said, but how I said it. And when you say it in this tone, that's how you're going to get the student's ear. They're going to actually hear it. Students will actually turn to you. And again, I know I've said it on my channel before. Be patient with me because you may have to hear it again and again. Sometimes students will actually turn and they'll say, oh, is he talking to me? I think he's talking to me. And then you're not. You're talking to the whole class. If that happens, then you know you've succeeded in finding the gem, finding the conversation tone. Not to make it interesting, for the sake of making it interesting, but to actually explain to your students what it is you'd like them to do, which ties into habit number 1 and number 2, your intention to get them to do the best possible yoga that they can do. These 5 habits, incorporate them into your teaching, and it will transform your teaching forever. It'll create a connection and a synergy between you and your students, and it will set you apart in a crowded market. So I started a new trend about a month ago. The last part of the video, I want to tell you where I'm going to be. In the month of February, I have 2 level 2 teacher training programs, February 4th to the 8th in Scranton, Pennsylvania at Steamtown Hot Yoga. February 18th to the 22nd, I'll be in Selfoss, Iceland for another level 2 teacher training program. March 13th, 14th, and 15th, I'll be in Evansville, Indiana for a Barkan method workshop. I'm going to put links in the description below. And our first level 1 of the year, 200-hour teacher training program, and OBX Hot Yoga, or the Outer Banks of North Carolina, both in March and April. I put links and the dates in the description below. We'd love to have you join us. So that's our episode for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell. Any questions, comments, put them down below. I'm happy to get back to you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.